Okay, we're going to build a shed in Revit, and even though it's a simple building, it will show you a lot of the features that Revit has. You're going to learn how to do floors, walls, a roof, doors, things like that. And so it'll be useful for you in future projects to know the basics on how to build a building simple like a shed. So I'm going to go up to the R button, or File it as it is, and just hit New, and I want to do Project. And I'm going to name this project, or save this project to a place, make sure that it's going to be your H drive. And so choose your H drive, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so right now we're in our Home tab, and there's a lot of tabs, a lot of options under the tab. But this is the tab you're going to use most frequently because it has all of your main components: wall, door, window, component. Component is like furniture or pillars or other kinds of things that you might want to put in, utilities, fridges, anything that might go inside the area. And we're going to go through all of these, but right now we're going to start with wall. So I'm going to click wall. And once I click wall, then my properties change to different kinds of walls. Right now we're just going to use a basic wall, generic 8 inches thick. That's what this means, is 8 inches thick wall. And we've got these 4 little arrow points here. These are points of view of the house or the shed or whatever it is that we're building. And so you usually want to build inside this area. And so I'm going to build inside the area and make my shed right here. My shed is going to have 12-foot by 16-foot walls. And so I'm going to click once, and I'm going to come out. And you can come at different angles as well for your walls. You can make the walls whatever angle you want. We want that to be at 0 degrees. And we're going to make it 12 by 16. And notice that my wall has 31 feet currently. And when I back off, it's now at 23 feet. So you can either pull this along the line and make it however long you want it to be. So let's say I wanted this to be 16 feet. And I can go to 16 feet, or I can just ensure that the line is going at 0 degrees, and I can type 16 and then the foot symbol, which is going to be 1 apostrophe, and hit enter. And so now I've got 16 feet. This is useful if you just want to type in your information. Now I'm going to go down at 90 degrees, and this is going to be 12 feet, so I can either go over and find 12, but look, I overshot it and now it's 12 foot 6 inches, or 12 feet. This is also useful if you don't want to go at a full foot or a half foot. Maybe you want your wall to be 12 feet and 3 inches long. Then you can type in 12 feet 3 shift and the quote symbol for inches, and then it'll be 12 feet 3 inches long. Let's say that I do that. Okay, I'm going to complete this, and when I come across and lock on, I'll get a little dotted line that leads to my other wall corner. Click, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'll get a little purple or pink box that will ensure that I'm locking onto that corner. Okay, so I've made this 16 by 12 and 3 feet, or 12 feet and 3 inches, sorry. I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard and escape again so that I have my regular arrow back. And if I click on this wall, it's going to tell me how long it is to the next wall, so that's 16 feet. If I click on this wall, it's going to tell me how long it is from this wall to this wall, and that's 12 feet and 3 inches, which is not the number I want. So this is how you change the wall size after you've already drawn it. My 12 feet 3 inches is here. If I click on the numbers, then I can modify what they say, and I can just delete this 3 inches thing and hit enter, and now it's 12 feet and 0 inches, and that's what we actually want. So that's how you change a wall distance once you've done it. You don't click on the actual wall you want to change, you click on the other wall because it's going to show you the distance from that wall to the next. So that's how you get the distance 12 feet again. Okay? Now what we've been doing all right now is in level 1 of our floor plans, and I'm going to take a little moment now to tell you about floor plans and ceiling plans. Floor plans are going to be basically the first floor and the second floor and the third floor, or the roof. And so level 1 is actually going to be our floor, of our shed, and level 2 under floor plans is going to be where our roof is. So I want us to change these from level 1 and level 2 to those respective labels. So I'm going to right click level 1 and go to rename, and I'm just going to put my caps lock on, and I'm going to name this floor. And it says, would you like to rename corresponding level and views? Yes, I would. So now it's floor, and I'm going to right click level 2 and go to rename, and I'm going to name this roof. And hit OK. It'll ask me the same question. I'm going to hit yes, and so now I've got floor and roof. Now whenever I want to see my floor plan from a bird's eye view like I am now, because I'm looking directly down at my walls and my floor, which doesn't exist yet, I'm going to double click on floor, and now I'm in my floor plan. If I wanted to go to my roof plan, I'd double click roof, and I still see the same walls here, but now I'm on my roof plan. I'm on the tops of my walls right now. If I click on floor plan, I'm now looking from the bottom of my floors, if that makes sense. It'll make more sense in just a moment, because I'm going to show you how to look at this in 3D view. Up here at the top, you're going to have default 3D view. It looks like a house, a little house. It actually looks exactly like the shed that we're about to make. I'm going to click on that, and here are our walls, and we can see it in 3D. We've also got this little 3D cube that we can rotate around and look at different directions of our roof, or sorry, of our house, or our shed, or whatever. And if you want to, say, move it over, maybe we have a really, really long building, there's some view options over here, but what I would like you to try out is the little wheel on your mouse. Click the wheel in, and you'll get this four-sided arrow, and you can actually move the object around inside your screen. So that's clicking the wheel in, not rolling the wheel, but clicking it in. And if I roll the wheel away from myself, it's going to zoom in, and if I roll the wheel towards myself, it's going to zoom out. So that's how you kind of navigate around the views of this. Right now we're in a very basic view. We just see the white walls of our shed. And so over down here we've got two options. First we have the level of detail, and right now we're on medium, so we can click this and go to fine. And that hasn't changed much, but this will change a lot. If I go to this one and choose which view I want here, there's a lot we can choose from, like wireframe, which is kind of what we're on, shaded, constant colors, realistic, and you're going to have a different option called ray tracing, and I'm using Revit 2012, and we're on a newer version of Revit now, and so there's another one called ray trace. I would recommend not using ray trace because it's going to have to redraw in all the lights and shadows. Your building will look really cool and realistic while you're working on it, but you're going to be frustrated because everything's going to run much slower. But if you go to realistic, then you get a good compromise. It'll look pretty realistic without too much processing power going. So I'm going to turn it on realistic, and now I've got these gray walls. If my walls were aluminum siding or clapboard or brick, then I would see the brick, and we're actually going to change the type of walls these are. Okay, so now let's look at wall height. Right now, and whenever you create walls, they're going to be 20 feet tall by default every time. So I'm going to click one of these walls, and when you click the wall, there's the little arrow on the top and on the bottom, and you can pull the wall up with the arrow. So let's say I wanted my wall to start there, which would be weird. There'd be a big opening right here in my shed. That's not very good. And if you look right here, over here on the left, it says base offset is 9 feet and 15/32 inches. That's because I offset the base to that height. So now there's 9 feet roughly between where this wall starts and the ground. I don't like that. I'm not going to keep that. So I'm going to just go to undo, and I can also push Control Z on the keyboard to undo. Okay, so if I click this wall again, and this, it says unconnected right here, and unconnected height is what that actually says. Unconnected height is 20 feet and 0 inches. We want our shed walls to be 8 feet tall. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to put 8 in the foot symbol and hit apply. And now my wall is 8 feet tall. And I want all my walls to be 8 feet tall. And so I can actually select all of them by holding Control on my keyboard. And I'm going to click and click and click all of my walls here so that they're all highlighted. And I'm going to change all of them to 8 feet tall. So now all of them are 8 feet tall, which is what I want. And I chose to do it in my 3D view because I wanted to see you or show you the changes happening. But I could be in my floor view and do the same thing. I can view, or I can just highlight all my walls like this and change all their heights as well. Going to the bird's eye view or the floor view is a good way to change things because the computer isn't going to have to show you what it looks like in 3D, so things will go a lot faster if you do them in the floor plan view and just use the 3D view to see what it looks like when you're done. So I would recommend working in this view all the time. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a floor to our shed. So on my home tab, I've got all these views, and I've got floor. So I'm going to click the floor view, and right now I've got this thing is kind of grayed out, and this indicates that I'm now drawing a floor or a roof. There's a lot of different ways to do this, and I'm going to draw my floor, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see my rectangle here. And I'm going to create a floor. Under my home tab, I've got all my components, and one of them is floor, so I'm going to click floor. And there's different options for making a floor. We can make floor by face, structural floor, regular floor. We're just going to use regular floor, and so I don't actually have to click the word floor. I can just click this button right here. And there's a couple different ways we can do this. We can make a floor by using the boundary line. This is if we just want everything to be floor on all the boundary lines, and so I can just click all of my outer lines here and make the floor, or I can manually make the floor with the line tool or the rectangle tool. So let's say I choose the rectangle tool and I uncheck boundary line. I click here and I can drag, or not drag, I just clicked once and then move my mouse until it locks onto the other corner. I can also draw lines individually to make the floor as well. But basically, any way that you can make a line going all the way around this thing without any overlap. You don't want any lines poking off the edge or not connected. If you ever have any lines that aren't connected, then it's not going to be good. And then we have an X and a check. The X is going to say, no, I want to discard this floor and start over, and check is, yes, I'm happy with the floor, I'm going to check it so that it's all good. So now that the floor has been created, and I'm going to go back to my 3D view, and you can see that we now have a floor, and it basically looks like a box at this point. We're going to modify it, so don't worry about that. But we're coming along with our shed. We've made our floor, and we're also going to make the interior walls of our shed as well, and the doorway and everything. And I always like to put on the roof last, because then the roof isn't going to get in the way of everything else that we're making. And so I'm going to put the roof on at the last. So let's go ahead and put a door onto our shed. And so I'm going to go to my floor plan. I'm going to put a door right here. So if I go to door, there's single flush, and if I click here, there's a whole bunch of different heights and widths that you can make for the doorway. So 36 by 84 is the default one that's on. But I want a different kind of door, not a single flush. And so I'm going to go over to the Load Family button. And whenever you want a different component than what's available to you here, you can always load it. And then once you've loaded it once in your session, then it'll always be there, so you don't have to keep reloading it every time. But when you go into your load family, there's a whole bunch of different things. There's doors, there's furniture, there's lighting fixtures, planting, there's windows, so there's a whole bunch of different things under here that we can choose from. But obviously when you're indoors you want to choose door. If you try and load family, and let's say we tried to load a plumbing fixture when we were under door, it's not going to work properly because you need to be under door. So a lot of these you need to be under specific things. Door, window, definitely have to be under. Everything else is going to be component. So I'm going to go to doors, and I'm going to choose single panel 3. So it's going to look like this, and it shows you a little picture of what it's going to look like. If you don't see the pictures, then you might be in the view, list view, or details view. So if you're in list view where you're just seeing file names, if you come up here to where it says views, you can go to thumbnails, and then it'll show you what they all look like. But we want to choose the one that says single panel 3. So I'm going to hit open. So now I've got single panel 3, and notice that when I bring my mouse onto the screen, it's a little slash circle. That's because I can't just throw a door in anywhere I want. I need to make sure I'm locked onto a wall. Okay, so here's where my door is, and I'm going to put it on this side, and I'm going to make it swing out, not in. So we're going to make it swing out, and I'm going to make sure that it's halfway across. See how I have 6 and 6? Let's say I didn't do it 6 and 6, and I click right here. So now my door is right there, and it shows me the distances here. I'm going to hit escape and escape. So I'm back to my arrow. So now that I've got my door, I can click the door, and it'll show me how far apart everything is. So I can make this right in the middle. It's got to be 6 by 6, so I'm going to click this and put 6 feet. Enter. And now it's 6 by 6. So it's automatically going to correct the other one because it can't be 6 feet away here and a different number here since it's 12 feet across. The other thing that I want to take note of is that if you have a door and it's swinging out, you can choose these double arrows right here, and it says flip the instance facing. This one says flip the instance hand. So flip the instance facing, if I click that, it's going to go inside instead of out. And now outside instead of in. This one is where it's facing, so if I click here, it's going to swing the other direction. If I click here, it's going to swing the other direction. So I'm going to have it swing that way. So now the door is going to swing in this direction. This is the door, and it's going to swing along this line until it's closed. And so that's the basics of a door. How you get the door to be on the building, so you have to make sure that it's on the actual wall.